Hey guys, Aaron Cybertron Zhang here, and today I'm back with another episode of Road to Rank, where I climb the online series 9 ladder and provide live commentary as I go. Today we're trying out a really interesting team built by a Japanese player called Kisisura, and it features a lot of cool stuff like Life Orb GMAX Blastoise with Yawn, Citrus Prankster, Eerie Impulse Thundurus, Shuca Berry Entei, Assault Vest Garchomp, and then Classic Rillaboom plus Urshifu. I think they might have used this in the Japanese Nationals Online qualifier, so definitely a lot of interesting components here. I think we actually have featured a team with Blastoise and Garchomp back in Series 7, but this team definitely has some really cool components. AV Garchomp, for example, not exactly the most common set you see running around. Blastoise in general often runs like Shell Smash sets, but this one kind of just relies on doing as much damage as possible. Yawn is also really cool on it because it turns it into a supportive option, meaning that you don't always have to max the Blastoise, although it will max the majority of the time with this team. Entei and Garchomp are certainly viable max options, as well as both Rillaboom and Urshifu. And the Entei here is also pretty interesting. I feel like normally when I see Enteis in this format, I expect it to be like Bulldoze strategies with something like Metagross, for example, or maybe Choice Scarf Entei. But this one is a Shuca Berry variant with just, good damage, Sacred Fire, Extreme Speed, Stomping Tantrum, and Protect, and definitely is a pretty viable max option as well. And of course, the Prankster Thundurus here. I think Eerie Impulse, as you may have seen throughout our time using it, Support Thundurus is really strong in this format, especially when you consider that some of the primary max options are special attackers like Celesteela, for example. And so the Eerie Impulse provides a lot of value there in just shutting down Pokemon like Celesteela early on, for example. Substitute's also really interesting here. I mean, this is a very supportive set. You've also got Scary Face for speed control. So one thing you can do is just Scary Face into something, and then Blastoise can just go for a max, and then ideally just pick up a KO onto something like Landorus-T, for example, before it can even move. And so I think one of the cool things about Support Thundurus is that your opponents typically will have to cover for both offensive and Support Thundurus. You can't just lead like something carelessly into it and allow Thundurus to just Dynamax and max Airstream. So it feels like more and more people are moving towards Support Thundurus rather than offensive Thundurus, but both are still pretty solid sets. And I was actually on the VGC subreddit the other day and saw this really funny meme. So I think very, very relevant for the team, and I think this was by Big Boar VGC, so credits to them. But I thought this was just super, super funny. So excited to try out this team. I think GMAX Blastoise is something we featured, a decent amount on the channel throughout Series 7 and Series 8, or at least like one, team featuring it in both of the formats, but this is definitely a really fun one. So I've linked a rental, paste, and a team report by the original creator written in Japanese in the description below, as well as the original creator's Twitter. And yeah, thanks so much as always for watching. If you enjoy, please show your support by leaving a like. I'd really appreciate it. And question of the day with us using GMAX Blastoise, like I always felt like the GMAX effects weren't very exciting, or maybe not, exciting is probably not the right word, creative is probably it, whereas like, all the Gen 1 starters just have like the residual effects, so if you could create like a new attack or a new Gigantamax effect for all the existing starters in the game, what would it be if you had any in mind? I don't know if I have great ideas here, so that's what I'm curious on everyone's answer here, but either way, let's get started with the episode. Okay, getting into things here, and it feels like 2013. I guess mainly just from the bottom three, but it's Incineroar, Kartana, Urshifu, Thundurus, Landorus, and Amoonguss. How good is Blastoise here? It's pretty good. It's mainly Kartana I'd have to be worried about. I don't know, Kartana, Amoonguss maybe, but like Entei is pretty solid into that. I don't know if setup here with Garchomp. Swords Dance would be kind of sweet. I don't know. We could even Dynamax Entei in this game because it doesn't care about Intimidate. Would they lead with Kartana? I think Kartana's not a bad lead for them. So I almost want to go with Thundurus Entei as a lead. Blastoise in the back. Because the thing with this Blastoise is you don't always need to max it, right? It's pretty strong even outside of max. And then probably Urshifu. I don't know, Garchomp's like interesting here, but I like Urshifu just because it's Focus Sash. It just guarantees us an attack, I think. So yeah, the thing with Blastoise is you do have to identify when it's like majorly threatened, and here my opponent does have both Thundurus and Kartana, so I don't, like, it's still a decent max option, but I don't like leading it because, like, it does get pressured with, like, an immediate KO. And the thing about Kartana is, like, even with Scary Face, if I were to Scary Face it, I can't guarantee a knockout onto it, especially because most Kartanas are Assault Vest, so that's where Entei really comes in handy. They're gonna go with Thundurus and Amoonguss, which I'm honestly okay with. I honestly really want to Dynamax Entei. I don't know, you would think Amoonguss is in such a bad spot here that it's going to want to protect, right? If you're my opponent, you could switch Amoonguss out into... you do have to be careful about my Thundurus maxing here, though. Like, I almost want to Thunderbolt into Thundurus, max the Entei here, and just max Flare it as well. Or max Thundurus. Max Entei into Thundurus. You know, I'm still going to target Amoonguss here, because even if they protect, it's fine. If they switch out, something's taking a max Flare, and they do stay in, and they're maxing Thundurus, okay. So maxing Thundurus is interesting. It's probably AV. Could be Life Orb. Now, I could Scary Face it to drop its speed, right? But that obviously activates Defiant. Now the only fear is of your Sash on the Amoonguss. Oh, I guess the other thing I didn't consider is Speedy Amoonguss. If you're max speed after max Airstream, you only hit 135, right? So I don't think that's enough to knock out or not enough to get a Spore off onto Entei. But let's see. Yeah, I mean, this is why I couldn't bring Blastoise, though, right? Like, Thundurus Amoonguss counters Blastoise super, super, super hard, whereas at least I would say Entei gives me a better shot here. Okay, they do just go for Protect. Yeah, I wanted to, you know, double up onto Thundurus there, but the thing is, by going for Flare, well, let's see how much Airstream does. If it's not a 2-hit KO, that's great. Okay, you know what, that's not a lot of damage, so I feel pretty good about our spot. Yeah, because the thing is, we set up the Sun. Oh, I guess the interesting thing is now, though, your Amoonguss... You can go for another... Oh, I was going to say, you can go for another Airstream, and maybe outspeed Entei. I have to double check Entei speeds that. But the thing is, I can just Scary Face it anyway, so it's not that much of an issue. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's AV Thundurus. I just don't think I could risk, like, Amoonguss actually getting an attack off there. Okay, I think they might be max speed, like Speedy Amoonguss here, so I think they're going to Airstream plus Spore Entei in this position. So I'm just going to go Scary Face onto Amoonguss and go for Max Flare onto it. I think that works, right? Yeah, I'm fine with that. That's what, like, maybe they're not speedy, but I think Speedy Amoonguss does make some sense here. And I think I have to cover for that option, because if I don't, we're in a lot of trouble. The scary thing is still, like, dealing with this Thundurus in general, because I didn't bring AV Garchomp. I guess AV wouldn't really help, but it's mainly just having Garchomp. Yeah, okay, they don't go for, like, a Rage Powder, so it's just... Like, I still like flaring into Amoonguss, because if we get Spored on turn 1 onto Entei, it's just, like, a disaster, right? Like, I don't even know how to come back from that. Okay, sizable amount of damage. The scary thing is this next turn, right? Because they get a free switch in. But the good thing is I can Scary Face whatever comes in and drop that thing's speed, so even if you Airstream, Airstream's not KOing Entei, and then Entei can get a powerful attack off onto whatever is coming in, right? The main thing, though, is that we really want to eliminate Thundurus ASAP because it's a pretty big issue for our Blastoise. Now, Urshifu Wicked Blow should just, you know, KO it. I'm thinking after Dynamax is over, Thunderbolt into Sucker Punch is also enough to knock it out. So I could Detect Urshifu, Thunderbolt into Thundurus, and then just Sucker Punch. They could fly, of course, though. Okay, and they're going to bring in their Urshifu. Can't say I'm in love with seeing Urshifu come out from their end. Both of our Dynamaxes end after this turn, which means they get a Wild Charge off. I have Urshifu in the back. They're probably going to max Airstream into Entei and Wicked Blow Thundurus, or even maybe double up onto the Thundurus here. Could definitely see that being the play as well. And I can't Scary Face Urshifu. That's a problem. That's a pretty big problem, actually. Okay, I think I'm going to T-Bolt Urshifu here and Max Guard. So then I can hopefully T-Bolt into Extreme Speeds enough to KO. That's a good Detect. That's a very good Detect. Let's see if they targeted Entei here. Okay, they did target Entei, so this is good at least because they don't give Urshifu a speed boost. Now my question is, does Wild Charge KO Entei from the range that we're at? If I'm worried about that, like, I can just go for Extreme Speed into Thunderbolt onto the Urshifu. I really don't want to, like, I'm trying to play around the speed ties between our Urshifus, but it may come down to that, unfortunately. I think we survive a Wild Charge, honestly. Yeah, that's close. They could also Sucker Punch here. I think I'm going to Thunderbolt into Extreme Speed here. I'm just nervous about Wicked Blow one-shotting my Thundurus, but I don't think it should. And the big question is, what is my opponent's last one? I mean, if it's Kartana, like if it's AV Kartana, I could just go... Because Urshifu should be Sash here, so if it's AV Kartana, I can just Scary Face into close combating it. Pretty good damage from Extreme Speed, and they Sucker Punch Entei. Okay, so E-Speed is perfect here. They're going to commit Wild Charge onto Thundurus. Oh, that's even better, because yeah, they split their damage there. And every little bit of damage on their Thundurus is really, really key for us. So this is a big, big turn. Okay, not enough to knock out the Urshifu, but that's fine. Last turn of Sunlight. I think I just E-Speed Urshifu here, even though Detect is fairly obvious, and just Thunderbolt into the Thundurus here. I guess the fear is if they manage to pick up the knockout with Wild Charge onto Entei, which certainly could be the case. Because if I get greedy here, like Protect, I don't know, E-Speed's so obvious, but I think I'm still going to go for it. And I'm not confident on Wild Charge KOing Entei from this range either. Okay, they do just go for the Detect though, but that's okay. I don't know, I just prefer to play it safe here because we do have the numbers lead. Electroweb. Oh wow, that's really interesting. But that's not going to KO us. Oh. Well, you drop my speed, but Extreme Speed's still a higher priority bracket, isn't it? So, like, that doesn't matter. Yeah, E-Speed's priority, but it's a higher bracket, I think, right? Than Sucker Punch, if I remember correctly. I could be wrong on that. Sunlight fades. But I think we're still in decent shape right now. Dynamax Entei was really solid for us in this one. I think I've done enough damage to Thundurus, and I really want Urshifu gone. What are their switch-ins? Kartana. That's fine. I think I'm down to Thunderbolt, Urshifu, and Extreme Speed it here. Just to get it out of the way. See if it stays in. Okay, good switch. And their last one is going to be... Is that Kartana? It is Kartana, okay. So... Our Urshifu is looking really good in this endgame, I would say. Unfortunately, our Blastoise not looking as hot. They're just going to go for another Wild Charge onto Entei this time around. Electroweb was smart. I think that play was good. Take a little bit of recoil. Yep, we get T-Bolt off. And they're not Assault Vest. Or that was a crit. Nope, they're not AV. Wow, okay, Thundurus is putting in so much work for us in this one. I think we just go into Blastoise, because Urshifu has the Sash, right? And actually, Urshifu is fine, right? If I go into Urshifu, I can just Sucker Punch Thundurus. They'll probably switch their Thundurus out. Well, if I go into Blastoise, though, you can't knock out both of my Pokemon. I think Blastoise is the correct call here. Unless we get crit on Wild Charge onto Thundurus. But the idea is that they should be AV Thundurus, so Urshifu should always win against them in the end game, right? They're all really low. If you Wild Charge, you take a ton of damage in recoil. So what's the worst case? Kartana detects and then you Wild Charge Blastoise? Probably. I'm thinking we just T-Bolt here, and... I don't think we should Water Spout. Okay, I'm down to T-Bolt and Scald here. Split my attacks. Okay, they do Protect here with Kartana. My question is whether or not they... Oh, that's interesting. They Wild Charge Thundurus. And they get the crit too, but it's not enough to KO, which I think should secure us the game. Yeah, because now we can just Scary Face into Kartana. So Kartana not being AV here is very good for us. Nice, okay. This was a really cool game. It's not over yet. This turn was a little bit scary. I think it may have just been correct to bring out Urshifu because it forces the Thundurus switch out. Actually, it was definitely correct to bring out Urshifu because if I just brought out Urshifu, I could have just gone Sucker Punch Thunderbolt into their Thundurus. We know they're Assault Vest, so we either KO your Thundurus or we KO your Urshifu on the switch-in. And if we KO Urshifu on the switch-in, your Thundurus comes back out. Sucker Punch just KOs you the subsequent turn. I guess it gets interesting is if you sacrifice Thundurus, get the free switch-in into Urshifu, and then bring us down to 1 HP. but then I can Scary Face with Blastoise. So I think objectively it was correct to bring out Urshifu, because if my opponent went Wild Charge on a Blastoise, this turn could have been... That last turn could have been kind of awkward, right? But now we can just Scary Face into the Kartana and Scald it. Let me just double check that we outspeed when they're at -2. Pretty sure we do. 115, yeah, they don't hit 230. Okay. Unless Wicked Blow KOs us. I don't think it does, but that would be bad. Nice double. Ooh, that was the one play they could make to save them. Okay, this is still interesting though, because I still have full health Urshifu in the back, right? So it's not like the end of the world. Nicely done to identify that was like the one play that could save them. Should I have read around that? No, because if I overpredict, it does give my opponent a shot at getting back in this game. So now what's your play? Also, the question is, does Sucker Punch KO Kartana from that range? I think it does. Actually, I can't say I'm 100% confident on that. Now it's like, do you go for the speed tie? Does it come down to that? Do you just Leaf Blade Blastoise here and then close combat my Urshifu? I don't think I can detect here. Alright, I'm a Wicked Blow. Scald. Oh, good double protect. Okay, so they didn't go for Sucker Punch, which means it comes down to a speed tie. Even if we lose the speed tie, I could still KO their Kartana with Sucker Punch, right? So it's not completely doomed. If we win the speed tie, we should just win the game here. But I couldn't close combat Kartana here. I think I have to try to... and they win the speed tie. Okay. So then it comes down to whether or not Sucker Punch KOs their Kartana. I'm not sure it does, unfortunately. It was a really good job by my opponent to identify they needed to go for the double protect, though. If I just Water Spouted there... No, but I don't love Water Spouting, right? Because they could just go for... yeah, I mean, like, the odds are pretty in our favor here. My opponent needed to get a double and win a speed tie, I think. It's not over, though, right? Sucker Punch could still KO Kartana, but I'm not too confident on that, unfortunately. I think he'll hang on with, like, 5-10%. But, let's see. It is kind of low, but Kartana's defense is just a lot better than its special defense. Wow. They go for Protect. That's really risky. I don't know. I guess I'm never clicking Wicked Blow or Close Combat there. Are they really going to play the Sucker Punch mind game? They're going for it. I don't know. In this position, I'm going to at least click Sucker Punch 5 times, I think. Especially because we're max PP'd. So that means they're not confident on surviving the Sucker Punch, I guess. Yeah, I can certainly respect the mind games, but I think I'm just going to go for Sucker Punch, because it's like, at least Sucker Punch gives us a chance. Well, I don't know. I just don't want to be lured into a false sense of security here, and then lose, because they just go for an attack. Wow, this is wild. They're just going for it again. Okay. Which indicates to me they're just really not confident in surviving. I think, yeah, I'm going to at least go for Sucker Punch. I'm going to go for it 6 times. Because I think they attack after 5 PP. Like, their hope is to stall out my PP right now, right? This is hilarious, though. Yeah. I think now you attack because you hope my PP is over. No, they don't. This is wild. Did they go for it again? Now they've actually lured me into a sense where I want to attack. I'm going to attack here. If they call it, kudos to them. Okay. That's a really weird endgame. I don't know. It's scary because we literally could have lost, right? Let's see. Urshifu into Kartana. I'm looking up Sucker Punch damage. Urshifu. Sucker Punch. I guess, oh, it does 33 to 40% to Kartana if they don't, and they didn't really look like they had any bulk. So if you have no bulk, it does 35 to 42, so it actually would be a KO. So yeah, I guess they were right to play out the Sucker Punch mind game there in the end. But that was a wild, wild game. Yeah. I think I misplayed a bunch. Like, I think I should have brought Urshifu out instead of Blastoise out first. The Thunderbolt onto Kartana ended up being really nice damage, but also, like, the turn Urshifu switched out was fairly obvious. There were so many turns where I had, like, opportunities to capitalize off reads, but I didn't feel like the immediate rush to go for the reads because I felt like we were in a pretty good spot for most of the game. So, yeah, but that was a really, really fun match to kick things off, so let's get into the next one. Wow, okay. I think this is a really good game for Blastoise. Porygon's what concerns me, but, like, I don't really even see how Porygon fits onto my opponent's team super well. Could be a Dynamax option. It's just, like, Trick Room isn't, like, very clear from my opponent's end. I think this is a great game for Thundurus and Blastoise, honestly. Rillaboom's valuable, especially because of knockoff. I think Entei is pretty subpar here, so we don't bring that. And I think it's probably Rillaboom plus Urshifu. Garchomp's, like, okay because of AV, but, like, it doesn't do enough damage, right? Nah, I don't really think so. Especially with Misty Terrain under Fini, like, one argument you could make for Garchomp is to counter their Garchomp. Because they have Intimidate and Misty Terrain, I don't even think that makes that much sense. So, alright. Man, that last game was so scary, because, like, in the Sucker Punch mind games, like, it should favor whoever is clicking Sucker Punch, right? Because you just need to call one turn correctly, whereas your opponent needs to call every single turn correctly. But, yeah. I don't know. I guess they really... I think after 6, like, that would be a really good time to go for the attack, because then you're feeling, like, the panic, you know, from my side. Okay, this ends up being a very favorable lead for us, I would say. Honestly, I'm down to Substitute here, max the Blastoise, and then just Hailstorm into Garchomp. Sub is really good here, I think, because you might want to consider max Rock Falling. Maybe they just Quake, max Quake into Blastoise, but Blastoise should survive that. The thing about Talonflame is it's just not very good past, like, turn 1. I guess, given that I have Urshifu and Rillaboom in the back, it's actually solid, but I don't know. I'm not that scared of it. Okay, so we're going to max Garchomp, which I guess it actually could be max Talonflame, but max Garchomp makes the most sense. Yeah, which I'm totally okay with. I was thinking about even going for Cannonade, but I like going for Hailstorm just to knock out their Dynamax threat turn 1. I think that gives us a pretty sizable advantage. Because the thing is, Thundurus is such good support, right? Like, I can kind of ignore Talonflame, and it's like whatever comes in, well, I can just chip away at. The other nice thing is that Talonflame's Sash is going to be broken here, right? Or not Sash, sorry. Gale Wings is going to be broken from the Hail, so that's really valuable for us as well. Okay. And I don't know. I think Rockfall into Thundurus here makes a lot of sense. They're going to Tailwind, yep. So it's really cool to see sub Prankster Thundurus. It's been a long time since I've seen this. But because we've used, you know, support Prankster Thundurus decently throughout Series 9 and Series 8. I think even a little bit of Series 7. Okay, they do just go for Max Quake, but, like, I'm fine with that. I guess the question is whether or not you survive a Max Hailstorm here. It is a lot of damage, but we should survive a Brave Bird from Talonflame as well, so I don't really... It's because we get crit. Okay, I was going to say, that was a surprising amount of damage. Don't love that, but that's what happens when you let your opponent attack first. That's okay, though. Because the thing is, even if we don't KO Garchomp here, like, let's say they're Assault Vest, okay, they should be AV, I could Max Guard, Eerie Impulse Garchomp, and then... Sorry, not Eerie Impulse, Scary Face, and then Scary Face Garchomp again. And then as I Scary Face Garchomp, we can Cannonade on the very last turn. We'd be in really good shape if that crit didn't happen, honestly, but that's okay. Just how the cookie crumbles sometimes, and that's why, you know, attacking first is really valuable in Pokemon. So, I'm going to Scary Face Garchomp here. You know, the one problem with this play is if my opponent reads into it, and then they Flare Blitz and Max Rockfall into Thundurus. That's actually a pretty big issue. So maybe we just attack with both here. Like T-Bolt into Talonflame, because if Talonflame's out of the way, Rillaboom KOs Garchomp, right? Okay, I'm down for that. And I'll Cannonade here as well. Oh, no, but they have the special defense boost on Talonflame. I forgot about that. They actually Brave Birded. Did they split their damage here? Because that would be huge. Is that into Thundurus? Wow, they doubled up onto Blastoise. You didn't need to do that, right? They get another crit. Well, I guess it makes sense if you're not confident in max play KOing, so I can certainly respect that. So the scary face play I thought about would have worked, but I don't know. I think it's really bad if they just end up KOing Thundurus and I end up max starting Blastoise. Whereas here it's like at least get damage on a Talonflame, but I guess maybe it's not worth if Talonflame survives this turn. Okay, nice. Talonflame is too frail. Just faints anyway. I think if we didn't get crit turn 1, turn 2, I guess they could still make the same play. So, I don't know, it's pretty interesting. We can go into Rillaboom now. By the way, this Rillaboom's interesting because it does not have Fake Out. We don't really need Fake Out. Okay, they bring out Spectrier. That's fine. Urshifu's going to be very good into that. I think I can just Scary Face the Spectrier right now. Or not Scary Face. Eerie Impulse the Spectrier and Glide into Garchomp. The support Thundurus is just so good with this team. I'm just sad because this, like, felt like the perfect game for Blastoise, honestly, but yeah, let's just Eerie Impulse and Glide. My only fear here is that Glide doesn't KO Garchomp, but with Miracle Seed, I'm pretty sure it does. If not, we could be in some trouble. Wait, did I Scary Face Spectre or Eerie Impulse? I clicked my moves really fast there. I actually wasn't fully paying attention. Okay, I went for Eerie Impulse, good. Sometimes I just like go on autopilot and like, yeah, I have to double check these things. Okay, it's a good drop. Get the Glide off. Okay, good. We need some rough skin damage, but that's fine. Like, having priority Grassy Glide is so good in this endgame, and the other good thing is that Spectrier is just not that much of a threat at this point in the game. As long as you don't crit a Shadow Ball into Rillaboom. And they target Thundurus, okay, even better. Great. So this is why you, like, can't tilt after a bad crit, right? Like, yes, they didn't even KO the sub. Oh my goodness. Like, yes, it was frustrating, but, you know, we're still in a perfectly fine position because we have a pretty decent matchup in this game. So, yeah. Okay. What's their last one? They had P2, Tapu, Fini. If it's Fini, things get interesting. Well, if it's Fini, I'll probably just go for... It is Fini. Yeah, I mean, you have two special attackers, and I have Eerie Impulse Thundurus. I think Eerie Impulse is just still so underplayed. Like, we've seen it on Thundurus, we've seen it on Porygon too, a little bit of Raichu, but, like, this move is just bonkers. No more Grassy Terrain, which means Spectrier faints after a double up. They still have Tailwind up, so there's no point to go for Scary Face right now. Misty Terrain means you can't even burn me. Honestly, I'm down to just Eerie Impulse Tapu Fini and Woodhammer it. Because Spectrier is just going to get one-shot by Urshifu, and they just end up forfeiting. Okay, nice. Wow, that was like the perfect demonstration of how good Thundurus can be, honestly. And like Blastoise was already pretty solid there, like it diverted a lot of attention away. The main thing after turn 1 is that I thought we were in a pretty good position, right? I do think my opponent didn't necessarily need a double up there, like they get a Flare Blitz Thundurus and then Quaked into the Blastoise. Had they gone for that, like I think Quake would have been enough to KO Blastoise, and then the Talonflame gets another special defense boost. I don't know, Talonflame is so frail, but I'm thinking after another boost it actually can survive an attack, so I'm not sure. But yeah, that was definitely a really fun one, and I mean, this support Thundurus is really impressive, and I think sub is really nice, because like, my opponent was, like, as soon as you set up sub on turn 1, your opponent definitely feels the pressure a little bit more, and then they have to really make the decision on who to target. And the more Thundurus stays on the field, the more utility it provides, right? And Scary Face and Eerie Impulse, the combination of that is just so, so good on this team. So, yeah. Either way, let's look for our next one here. Okay, getting into the next match here. This has got to be a rental team, right? I've run into this team like 4 times. Once on Road to Rank pretty recently with that Registeel team, and then the other times, like, just off-screen. So if anyone knows if this is a rental team or not, like, I'd love to try it out, honestly. Okay, Eerie Impulse Thundurus is going to be excellent here. The Alcremie isn't Focus Sash, which I guess I should have been able to identify, given that there's a Urshifu on the team. I really like Thundurus plus Blastoise here, honestly. And in the back, I'm thinking Rillaboom plus Urshifu again. Not a great day for Garchomp. I don't think it's terrible here, both Intimidate and Porygon, not great, and Entei just doesn't do enough damage for me to... I think you could make an argument for Entei because of extreme speed. Priority is really valuable, especially given that they have an Urshifu on their team. But I think I like what we have here. So, let's see. The idea is to make Alcremie useless. If, like, turn 1, what we could do is just, if they go Alcremie P2, I guess the problem is if it's physical Porygon too. Like, in playing this team multiple times, I still don't know if Porygon has a physical component to it. But they're gonna go with Moltres, which I'm totally okay with. Am I? Maybe not. I can't go for, although, if you're my opponent, you definitely have to be worried about Dynamax Thundurus, right? So then it's a question of whether or not you've seen this team, but it's not like this team is super mainstream right now, so... The other question I have is, can Alcremie survive a GMAX Cannonade? If I just Scary Face Alcremie and Cannonade it, like, can my opponent do anything? Also, thank you to everyone that commented. The last time we went up against this team, I was like, oh yeah, can you decorate through Protect? I've asked that question apparently like 4 times throughout, I don't know, since Alcremie existed. So the answer is you can decorate through Protect, which I think would be a pretty strong play for my opponent here, honestly. Oh, this is a problem. They are really smart to play towards Moltres. Okay, I'm gonna go Scary Face Cannonade, but I don't think this one-shots. If it does, we are in excellent shape. Okay, they are gonna max Moltres though, which means they're gonna attack, which also isn't good. I don't know why. I didn't feel super nervous about Moltres. I guess I just kind of hard locked into thinking my opponent was gonna go Porygon too. Garchomp would have definitely been a better answer against Moltres specifically. So that's where Garchomp actually has value, but it's so bad if my opponent brings Porygon 2. Like, if I lead Garchomp here, amazing against Moltres, terrible against Porygon 2. So that's a good example of something where in a best of 3, it'd be a really good adjustment, right? Where it's like, hey, if I think my opponent's just going to go Alcremie Moltres again, well, this is perfect for Garchomp, but I don't think I'd ever really want to bring Garchomp as a lead in a best of 1 just because of the threat of Porygon. That's a really good play. You know, like, I don't mind it that much, though, because now they take enough damage where I can just... Oh, it's a question of how fast the Alcremie is now. That's a lot of damage, too. Is that only, like, Life Orb? It's probably Life Orb, right? Don't love that. That's a phenomenal play to make on turn 1. It's really hard to make that play, I think, because... I mean, imagine if I just Thunderbolt and Hailstormed Moltres turn 1. It's funny, because in playing against this team, like, I think we've seen the Moltres' item, right? Have we? It's just a question of whether or not I outspeed the Alcremie here. I mean, if I don't, I can still Scary Face. I'm gonna go for Scary Face Cannonade, but not in love with this. Because the thing is, I can't, yeah, this is the upside of Moltres. Like, wow. Yeah, that was a really good play, especially if you don't know about this team, because, you know, obviously, oh, they don't Airstream. This shouldn't KO us. Nice. Okay, this is a really important turn then, because I should just knock out Alcremie. I still don't see how I beat Moltres, though. That's the problem, especially because I don't want Fake. Like, Moltres is just so good into what I have in the back. Like, my best answers against Moltres are on the field right now. If anything, it's probably to switch out Thundurus and then bring it back in? Maybe I didn't need to be that worried about Decorate. Like, what if I just Thunderbolt and Hailstorm Moltres this turn? No, but they honestly were probably going for Dazzling Gleam this turn. That was just, like, if I lose this game, I can't even feel bad because my opponent made just a really excellent play on turn 1 that I don't think most players would make. So, can't even be upset about something like that. Now we're at -1 Spadef. Aleki is out. I mean, I can Scary Face or Eerie Impulse, but to, like, what value does that really give me? I think the play is to Scary Face Aleki. They should Airstream here. Yeah, if I'm my opponent, what am I doing? Airstream Blastoise, T-Bolt Thundurus, maybe? Okay, so maybe it's Eerie Impulse then, and Max Guard. If they go for that play. Because I've revealed Scary Face at this point, but I haven't revealed Eerie Impulse, so I'm thinking we get more value out of Eerie Impulse this turn. Especially because Urshifu or Lecky should just Urshifu or Rillaboom should just one-shot a Lecky. Oh, what a good Volt Switch. What a play. We do survive the turn, though, which is nice. Let's see what their last one is. Porygon would make a lot of sense, because right now their Garchomp answers are kind of suspect, but it's actually Landorus. This is going to be a really tough endgame to win, mainly because I don't have... My best Moltres answers are on the field right now. My opponent just played really well with Moltres. Like, that turn 1 play, you could literally instantly lose the game. But they made a hard read, basically, and it was a very, very good read. I'm just wondering if they have knowledge of this team or not. Because if you don't, like, man, to the ability to make that play turn 1, like, I could never, honestly. So, it's really impressive. -1 Spadef on both. Man, this is probably plot Moltres too, right? Not so bad. Well, you can Scary Face the Landorus here, but they're just going to Fiery Wrath, right? I think I have to give up both here. Moltres should be in KO range from close combat. And if they get greedy... If they get greedy and like nasty plot here, I can go for Blizzard. So I think I just give up both Pokemon here, but... Okay, they switch out. That's a really good switch too. That Volt switch last turn was excellent. And yeah, this is the main problem. Imagine if Thundurus could hit Galarian Moltres with the Prankster moves. This would be a really, really easy game, because I could just keep going for... Yeah, they go for Fiery Wrath. I don't think I can switch out there, but that's a really good play, because now you get to pivot and Intimidate, and your Landorus doesn't take any residual. If we had Fake Out on Rillaboom, this would also be a very different game, but we don't. Because if we had Fake Out, we could just Fake Out Close Combat Moltres, although I guess then Moltres here maybe consider switching out into Landorus-T. Would I even have played this any differently in terms of Pokemon? Well, they didn't bring Porygon. Like, the thing is, they did a really good job of team preview in this game. They were basically like, hey, I have Porygon 2 and Alcremie. My opponent is definitely not going to play towards Garchomp. And that's a really good, like, call. So this is how you can sometimes, like, not necessarily just win the game off team preview, but, like, look how much value my opponent got, right? Off not bringing Porygon. It was really, really smart of them. If I'm my opponent, what am I doing here? I'd be worried about Fake Out Close Combat. You don't want to give up your... No, the Speed Boost doesn't really matter, right? Well, it does a little bit. I don't know. I'd pivot Moltres out into Landorus. And Volt Switch into Urshifu. So I think I'm going to Detect here. And Glide into a Lecky. That switch also makes a lot of sense. Does it make sense? If I had Fake Out Close Combat here, it doesn't really work out that well for them. Nice play, though. Yeah. Because if I just Fake Out Close Combat, like, I still KO you via priority. It's okay damage from Glide. We go for Fiery Wrath. Yeah, smart. I think this is still winnable, though, honestly. Especially because Fiery Wrath is not... Ooh, and you know, like, recoil adds up. This is intense. Are you Scarf Landorus on that team? I don't think so. The play I want to make is Close Combat Moltres here and Detect on the Rillaboom. Or Protect. I'm going to go for it. Either way, if this is a loss, like, I can't feel bad about it. I think my opponent played really, really well. And they won in, like, not won in team preview, but... Okay, they Hurricane to... That's the risk of running Hurricane over Air Slash. That's a big miss. I think if they hit that, they just win the game. The other play I could have gone for was Sucker Punch Glide into Moltres, but I wasn't confident on that KOing. We got very lucky this turn, though. And they went for Fly. Okay, so actually, even if they hit Hurricane, this game was still very winnable. Because they went for Fly over something like Rock Slide Earthquake. So, I'm not sure they made the perfect play this turn. Oh, maybe it's still fine for them, though, because now you just target the... Okay, this is still really close. Yeah, no. I think they might still win. Because I protected Rillaboom, and I assumed they targeted the Rillaboom slot here. This next turn is so interesting. Do I go for Glide and Sucker Punch onto Aleki? Because Aleki could protect here, right? The Volt Switch damage makes me think they're Specs, though. The alternative is to Wicked Blow here into Aleki, but if they fly... Okay, wait, if they fly Urshifu and Electro Web, we'd win. Is it right to Wicked Blow always? No, because if they... I think they're Specs, but maybe I'm wrong in my estimate of my damage output here. See if they protect. I think Wicked Blow would have won it there. I really thought they were Specs based off how much damage they did into Thundurus. Okay, now it's a question of who they targeted with Fly. Was it Urshifu or was it Rillaboom? It's probably Rillaboom. They deserve to win this one, though. But they target Urshifu. Okay. That makes this match very interesting. I think Landorus is AV here. And I don't think Aleki beats... Like, I think I just Sucker Punch into Lando and Glide into Lando here. If it's not AV Landorus and has Protect, like, GG. I'm nervous about doubling into Aleki because I think Aleki could go for a double Protect, and even if it doesn't get it... Okay, they didn't go for it, though. We should KO Landorus. I don't think Aleki will win against Rillaboom. It'll be close. But Aleki's damage up, and maybe has Hyper Beam. That's what it comes down to. They T-Bow Rilla. These games have been wild today, but they've been, what a fun episode, honestly. So it's just Magnet Aleki, right? Like it's gotta be. Last turn of Grassy Terrain. It's a great T-Bolt into Rillaboom. It's very close to a 2-hit KO. If you're Aleki, do you protect here is the question. I really want a Wicked Blow here. Is that a mistake though? Is Sucker Punch just the correct play? Because you can't KO the Rillaboom? I think it is. Maybe it KOs Rillaboom though, that's my fear. Like, I'm gonna go Sucker Punch Woodhammer here. See if they attack. Okay, they attacked. So now we need to survive T-Bolt on Rilla. Assuming that's who they targeted. Oh, that was enough. It was so close though. I guess I could have gone Wicked Blow there. Oh, you know what the play was? The play, yeah, I didn't play this endgame correctly. There was just so much going on. I couldn't think, like, super straight. I think, Woodhammer into Wicked Blow. Yeah, because if you protect, Wicked Blow just wins the game. If you Thunderbolt Urshifu, I get Woodhammer. I guess the question is, can Aleki survive Woodhammer after the Intimidate? I had multiple opportunities to win this one, but I just didn't play this endgame super well. But, you know, that's the tough thing, right? You can look back and objectively be like, well, you didn't make the 100% right play, but... It's tough when you're playing to consistently identify the best play all the time, right? So, like, you know, people make mistakes all the time. But I think Wicked Blow and Woodhammer was absolutely the correct play there. Anyway, I got lucky to begin with in this game because that Hurricane dodge, I kind of overestimated Aleki's damage output. We could still win off Crit Sucker Punch here, but I also wasn't sure if T-Bolt would KO there. Yeah, that was such a close game. And obviously it stings to lose, but like I, clearly could identify like several of the misplays that I made in this game. And my opponent just played the lead really well, so kudos to them. The Volt Switch turn was so good there as well. And they cycled their Intimidates perfectly. Like my hope was to just pick up a knockout quickly. Yeah, it looked pretty bad honestly, but yeah, we were in a position where we could have won the game in two different positions if I just clicked Wicked Blow initially into Aleki. The reason I didn't Wicked Blow into Aleki the turn it protected when Landorus was used Fly was because if they had Electro Web and they went Electro Web, Fly, and targeted the Urshifu slot, I would pretty much instantly lose the game there. But I needed Urshifu alive. So I was like, I don't want to risk it, and I honestly really thought there were Choice Specs damage based off onto Thundurus. I'm just curious, Regieleki into Rillaboom, like, we had 70 HP, and I really think that's a damage roll. So I'm curious what that roll is like. Let's say they're modest. Magnet. Thunderbolt. Maybe not. Maybe it's just... If they are timid... No. It's a... Well, I don't remember how much bulk we have, but I think it's a guaranteed KO. Okay, then I really messed... I mean, I already know I messed that turn up, but... let's see if Rillaboom at -1 knocks out with Wood Hammer and Grassy Terrain. It does, if they have no bulk. Yeah, I had a guaranteed win, I think, if I just clicked Wood Hammer and Wicked Blow in that end game, so really disappointed myself for that one. What did I go for instead? Thunderbolt plus Wood Hammer? Or sorry, Sucker Punch plus Wood Hammer? Why'd I go for that? Because I thought Aleki could target the Urshifu in that slot, and I thought we had a chance of surviving with Rillaboom, but I should have been able to gauge the damage output based off how much the last Thunderbolt did. And, like, it looked like a roll, but I shouldn't have left it to risk, right? And it's like, even if it were a roll, we found a better play in Wicked Blow plus Wood Hammer, so... Yeah, kind of upset at myself for not finding that, but we were lucky to stay in it, because if they had hit that Hurricane... honestly, if they went Hurricane Rock... Hurricane, like, I think Hurricane Fly was a smart play, either way. But yeah, if they hit that Hurricane, I think the game is basically just over. Well, not necessarily. I guess there's still the mind game of what you do with Aleki the next turn, but I don't think Sucker Punch into Glide was enough to knock out Aleki. Actually, no. Grassy Glide does 60 to 72%. And Sucker Punch did around, yeah, 30, 40. So, even if they hit the Hurricane, we were still in it, potentially. Because they targeted... Well, they targeted Urshifu. So maybe we weren't in it. Either way, yeah. Like, I'm just sad because, like, we got bailed out a little bit by some good fortune, but I didn't maximize it. But my opponent played really well, like I said, and the decision to lead Moltres was really, really smart, so I can't be upset about that one. Either way, that was a really fun set of games today, some really, really intense ones. So thanks so much as always for watching. If you enjoyed, please show your support by leaving a like. Don't forget to answer the question of the day. Check out the team in the description below, and I'll catch you all next time. Alright, peace.